Welcome in, everybody. This is the Final Form podcast. I am your co-host, Dave, joined by my fellow Bingetown TV member, Paul, and we are here continuing our coverage of Season 3 of Invincible with Episode 5, This Was Supposed to Be Easy. A lot of people online were saying that this was just a filler episode, but honestly, I thought this was a pretty great episode. I didn't really consider this filler. I know the Titans storyline may not be the people's favorite plot line overall, but I honestly really enjoyed getting back into it. I think Titan is a very interesting character. Like we've been discussing in previous episodes, there's just more of this moral ambiguity that the show is giving us in this season, and we get it here in the form of Titan in this storyline. And of course, we get that awesome fight scene with Mr. Liu. I just feel like the people were too quick to dismiss this episode as filler. I just really enjoyed it overall. I know it didn't go over a lot of things that maybe we wanted to see, like maybe with Alan the Alien and obviously Omni-Man, but I really enjoyed it. I'm going to hand it over to Paul now, just so you can give your thoughts on the episode and also just let the people know the layout of this discussion today.
Yeah, I think this episode only suffers because last episode's ending was Alan the Alien and Nolan, and we got a lot of that hype progression in their storyline. But like you said, I enjoyed this one a lot. It kind of was more world building than even
Yes.
just, Mark's storyline, some of the crime syndicates around the city and how they function and what they have to worry about in the prisons and whatnot. So liked it from that aspect. How we're going to cover this, we got like one quick scene with Ray and Rex, then we'll jump into some of the Mark, Eve, and Oliver stuff, and then we'll finish off with the climactic Titan and Liu battle. But this kind of touches on a few different areas. We got some callbacks to old enemies that we've seen before. I love how they keep bringing back those villain of the weeks to making them reoccurring characters and building for the future too. So a lot to talk about here. But if you're ready, yeah, we can just dive on in.
That's going to be our
And
slogan from now on for sure.
oh,
We're not going to go in a single episode without saying dive on in.
hell yeah, I'm gonna say that every single time. But like I was talking about Ray and Rex, I didn't see this coming, Dave. You really called this. Rex is asking Ray out for a dinner date. Spelled her name wrong, hysterical, but fixed it. And it's like in Crown too.
Yeah.
And he's cooking
It's in what, Paul?
Crayon. Sorry, I
Yeah, the people
apologize.
might not know what a crown. People might know what a crown is, but they might get confused. Paul's one of those people. For anyone listening,
Yeah, he's coloring with little child sticks. How about that? And he cooks, and it's almost midnight, which is a hysterical fact because he's like, this is taking a little bit longer than I anticipated, but good for him putting the effort out there. Dave, like I said, you called this. You get anything else from the scene, really?
no, but just gonna emphasize that I was happy. I was giddy watching these two come together here. This was just a really wholesome scene. Rex trying to flex his cooking skills, doesn't have any. He's using basically what seemed to be like a HelloFresh meal. He said it's just one of those meal preps, and it was a very cute scene. And honestly, I am very much rooting for these two. I think it's crazy just how much Rex has had a turnaround for me. I was genuinely ear to ear happy for these two watching this progress.
Yeah. And, I like the line at the end where Ray's saying, none of this is normal, but it's still good because they are superheroes. They did have horrendous childhoods. They're not going to lead normal lives. So I don't know. I kind of like how they are just showing that superheroes struggle with everyday acts that normal people do. I like it.
Yeah, definitely.
But that was quick, so we'll just jump on over to Mark, Eve, and Oliver and what's kind of going on with them. Hysterical that Eve is still in the room, but they're pretending like Eve just showed up at the front door the morning. Oh, what a coincidence. Pancake time? That's so crazy. And then they, a little sibling rivalry with Mark and Oliver kicking each other under the table. We got a little bombshell that Mark and Eve want to move in together. And then we also see that Oliver sneaks out and is making friends and is leaving a normal life there. So would I'm sorry. And Eve, like she can't do enough, creates a company for herself and Mark out of the blue, like overnight, and
Yep.
gets them to be the prison guards going forwards. So
Mhm.
anything out of this is more like a sitcom opening with family jokes and banter back and forth here.
I was definitely cracking up at this whole entire breakfast scene. Like you said, from the moment that Eve shows up, like, oh, I was just in the neighborhood, to Oliver ratting them out, to them just kicking each other so many times. I it went on for a long time, but I still found it funnier with every passing moment. The breakfast scene was really great. I love seeing that. And I'll just admit it, I'm gonna eat my words on Oliver right now. I maybe not. I compared him to baby Hitler last episode. And I am eating my words. I loved seeing Oliver with his friends and how well he handled the bullies. Of course, there was a part of me and Mark as well that was very worried about how he was going to react to them, you know, kicking them off their territory. But Oliver handled it perfectly by just pantsing the bullies and not, doing any physical damage. I love this. I thought Oliver had a great turn of a character here for me. This one scene alone made me flip entirely on Oliver. So I'm definitely team Oliver.
Yeah, I had the exact same worry. I'm like, please, Oliver, do not turn these three teenager bullies into mincemeat. That would just be
Mm-hmm.
terrible image. I kind of like how Eve held Mark back too from intervening
Yes.
because
Yes.
it is Oliver. He's a superhero. It's not really danger. It's what danger he might put others in. Just to continue the Oliver love, though, so funny at the breakfast table where he's like, "What are you talking about? I heard her in your room. You guys were like arguing or fighting all night." And he's like, "Shut up." So, and then, Debbie brings it up at the end of the episode. She's like, "I know you guys are having sex." And he's like,
Yep.
"Shut up." So, just,
Mark's innocent
yeah,
reaction to it all. Yeah.
it's
It's
like a
wholesome.
classic coming of age story with your parents knowing what's going on and stuff.
Also, the calm before the storm. I feel like all the storylines are kind of ending happy for the most part right now. We're in a pretty good space between all the characters. So it's nice to see them enjoying their time together while it's lasting. Because I don't
Yeah.
imagine it being roses and dandies later on.
Yeah, true. We're getting to that point where Mark usually he hasn't suffered in too many episodes. He's been going through emotional damage here and there, but I feel like this time of the season he usually gets the shit kicked out of him again. Well,
Which she technically also
I
did.
yeah, I say that, and then I remember he has a giant hole in his chest by the end of
Yep.
this episode.
Mhm.
But we'll get there. In order to get to that fight, we have Titan, Isotope, and the Liu storyline.
Mhm.
It all starts out with Multipole trying to break out of jail. Wild scene, just sacrificing his clones to bust open the door. I was gonna say ultimately ends up with him getting a collar to suppress his superpowers. It's unsuccessful, but what a wild way to break out.
A prison breakout scene you have never seen before. This was definitely one for the for the history books. I was shocked. I mean, at first he made a few of them. I'm like, okay, maybe he's just prepping to just, open the door, wait for a guard. And then we're getting to like 20 of them, and I'm sitting there thinking, he's probably just gonna try and actually bust out of the door. And it was tough watching all those Pauls just pressing up against each other, just breaking bones, eyeballs popping out of their head. That it was a gruesome scene, but again, we love it. We love seeing it.
Blood was just flowing out from underneath that door like it was a damn waterfall. It was like
Mm-hmm.
disgusting to watch.
I will say Multipole is a scumbag, but got to give credit where credit is due in terms of he is strong, man. I feel like he is a problem in terms of one, trying to get rid of, and two, even just in a one-on-one fight. I mean, he seems way more experienced for whatever reason than Kate. Maybe it's because of how he was more raised by the order and was grown into be a more harsh person. But man, he feels like a pretty big threat going forward.
Yeah, and as we have with every other superhero, we're getting some horrific childhood stories with Multi-Paul and Duplicate here. They were growing
Mhm.
up being turned into weapons, and Paul just dipped one day and didn't really say anything to her, to Kate. I guess he wanted her to come with, but she wouldn't, and that was the split where Kate ended up staying with Teen Team and the Guardians, whatever it was, and
Mhm.
Paul went to the Order.
The the perspective of their father too was actually, I think, very interesting because as kids, Kate and Paul clearly didn't have full control over their powers. So we see shots of the dad handling, what's 20 kids. I don't know where the mom is in all of this, but um and he just goes crazy from having to deal with all that with that many kids. And I thought that was an interesting take on, the duplicate ability of Paul and Kate. So
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be relevant of a character, but I just thought, giving these characters backstories like this, obviously great for the world and lore building of it all. And it was one that it was cool
I
in a way.
wouldn't I wouldn't be too surprised if they did bring him back at least
I guess, yeah,
because
you're right.
Kate and Paul have this ongoing storyline. It's left open ended. So I
Hmm.
wonder if they can reconcile in any way in going to visit their father in some maybe asylum because it seemed as if he wasn't mentally all there. Like you said, with the trauma of all those clones, like toddler clones running around. I couldn't
Right.
even imagine.
No.
But getting back to Titan, he is confronted by Mr. Liu again. This time he only has 24 hours to break out Multi-Paul, and Titan's daughter actually gets threatened here. That is the consequence if you don't do it
Mhm.
by the end of the 24 hours. So Titan's put in a weird spot. We kind of see he's like a family man. He cares about his wife, he cares about his daughter, but I don't know why he chose this line of work of being like the leader of a crime syndicate like this. But he goes to meet with Machine Head in the same prison. So that was a great scene, kind of seeing them talk it out. And then at one point, he even talks to Mark, who's now the guard of the prison, trying
Mhm.
to. It's weird because he is like talking about doing a crime and doing something bad, doing something good for bad people, but at the same time, he's going about it like a good person. He wants the smallest amount of casualties. He doesn't want any damage. So
Mhm.
he's even working with Mark, who he kind of hates at this point. So Titan's a really interesting character.
I completely agree. I think he is one of the more interesting characters to me because, especially with the perspective we get of him with his family, I truly believe he is a good person, and I guess he does the crime because in his head, it's better that he does it than other people do it. So he might as well just have that grip on the city. It is weird, that dynamic, but he's got a lot of depth to him. Mark was put in a really tough situation. I mean, how do you believe what Titan says after where he left you off last? It's one small, I guess I wouldn't say small, but it's one evil doing in exchange for potentially saving way more lives. And at the end of it all, obviously we can say, oh, Mark should have just helped him, but in the moment, it's so hard for you to make that decision of, is he telling the truth? And obviously Mark has beef with Multi-Paul as well. He doesn't want to just let this guy go. Yeah,
Yeah.
this was a tough situation for Mark, and I liked how he responded. I'm kind of jumping the gun here at the very end of it all with Eve, and she was like, "How are you holding up?" And he's like, "I don't even know." And that's kind of how I was feeling. I don't know how to. I don't know how I would have felt if I was Mark in that situation. Like, I just got completely used. Sure, we in our heads prevented Multi-Paul from escaping, um, but at the same time, at what cost? So Titan was just a great depth storyline here for it, and it was hard to see Mark make that decision of like ignoring him at first because we knew it was obviously going to end up bad. But yeah, it's hard for him.
Yeah. Mark reminds me of like a Boy Scout. Like he's trying to do the right thing, follow all the rules, but at one point you can't do what's best for the people and follow all the rules. You're going to have to make a
Right.
choice. and it's
Yeah.
the whole lesser evil, which is, there's
Hmm.
evil and lesser evil. Which one are you going to choose? Weird situation. So I kind of like it. It's boring, like listening
Hmm.
to him and Eve talk this out, but at the same
Hmm.
time, it adds another layer to him and shows you, like, he was a human kind of before he became a superhero. So
Because then, like, he starts to question, how many times am I going to have to be put in this situation where I'm going to have to make a sacrifice of a lesser evil, like you're saying? And this is something for him to, I guess, take notes on. I'm sure a parallel will come in the future similar to this, where Mark will have to make a decision of a lesser evil again. Um,
yeah.
I hope that he chooses, I guess, the lesser one, but it's gonna suck at the end of the day. It's not without trauma. It's gonna have its trauma, of course, but I just feel bad for the kid.
Yeah, that's what Geralt says. Evil, lesser evil. There's no such thing, man. There's only just evil, and like to stay out of it. But Mark can't do that.
Yeah, very
So
true.
we did get okay. I remember Machine Head. I don't remember liking Machine Head as a character as
I was
much.
100% agree, man. I remember him having a couple throwaway lines in season one, and he absolutely stole the show this episode for me. I thought he was so hilarious on screen. He was unbelievable. It was I did not I knew we were going to see him again, but it's just he delivered. He absolutely delivered in this episode.
He has a lot of really good lines toward the end of the episode.
Yeah,
We'll kind of talk about it as we get there. I thought it
definitely.
was really interesting that they showed him wearing down. He's in prison. He's not getting this upkeep, and he is a robot. I
Hmm.
I don't know if it's going to lead to anything else, or if they're just trying to be as realistic as you can about
Robots in prison.
cyborg, yeah, a
Yeah.
cyborg individual being in prison. It's I just thought it was a really, really cool concept, and that's some of the
Hmm.
world building things that we were talking about that I don't know if it's going to lead to something else or it's just a good nod. So
Hmm.
enjoyed that whole setup, honestly. And Titan and Machine Head too. They are pretty smart for what seemed to be, villain of the week. I keep bringing up that term,
Hmm.
but I like the longevity that they are showing that they can have, and what roles they might have in the future here.
Agreed.
So after all that, this actually leads to Mr. Liu walking into Titan's place. Hey, time's up. Seemingly turns into a dragon and kills Titan. Isotope throws the
Hmm.
oh, I'm with this guy. I backstabbed you just like you backstabbed Machine Head, but
Hmm.
that's actually like a triple cross.
Yeah, it's a
It's
triple cross at this point. Yeah.
which I kind of saw coming. I don't know about you, but I thought this was all part of Titan's plan. But Mr. Liu changed into that dragon, pretty cool power, pretty nuts.
That was one of my highlighted notes here, was that I was not expecting this to be Mr. Liu's power, and it is so cool. And the fact
Hmm.
that he makes that quote, I know you were probably going to say it, I'm going to steal it from you, but that his power comes from beyond this reality. Hint, hint. We don't, I guess we have been hinted at things like this with Darkwing 2.0, and his ability to go into the whatever, it's like the night first or
Yeah,
whatever.
great point.
Um, so we have seen this kind of stuff, but we saw Mr. Liu and we knew he was the head of the order, and he's just this like old guy with a metal jaw, and you think, oh, maybe his power is just he has an insane overbite or whatever, and there was no threat to him. But this was amazing reveal. The fact that he could turn into a dragon, it was awesome, and it definitely bumped up Mr. Liu in my in me liking Mr. Leo as a character. He is obviously evil. We don't like that, but he got a lot cooler, if you know what I mean.
I totally agree with the metal jaw too. I thought that was his power, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden he can turn into a dragon as well. And I don't know how many of you guys watch How I Met Your Mother out there, but there's an episode where they're looking at all these bad guys, and all of a sudden one bad guy has like a mohawk, an eye patch, a scar on his face, and a parrot. And Ted, the main character, is like, "You get one thing, dude. Pick one
Yeah.
thing. You can't have them all." So the
Right.
fact that Liu has a metal jaw and can turn into a dragon,
Yeah,
like,
right.
get out of here, dude. You're too cool. But
Yeah.
with a great power comes, potential setbacks, and
Hmm.
that is, or I'm sorry, I shouldn't say setbacks, I should say potential weaknesses, and that
Hmm.
is that his physical body needs to be watched over while he's out there in that dragon form. So the body stays with the bodyguard, which is really cool. As Liu
The
himself,
bodyguard. You're not going to name his name. The Great Wall.
is
That
that
was
what
his
his name
name.
was?
I'm
Oh,
pretty
okay.
sure that's what I was. I thought that was so funny. I'm not 100% sure either, but I'm pretty sure that guy, the bodyguard's name is the Great Wall, which I honestly think is a great name.
Incredible name for a
Yeah.
superhero. If any of you guys are out there, watch this episode and you didn't have the pause feature on Amazon Prime where it says the
Yeah.
name of whoever's on screen, me and Dave were just complaining about that. After last
Yeah.
episode, we were complaining about the subtitles. So,
Which were still an issue. Which were still an issue this episode.
yeah, if you guys feel our pain, then just know that you're not suffering alone here. We're with you.
Yeah.
But he was
Hmm.
great. But as the Great Wall is watching the body, Mr. Liu himself is going to break out Paul from the prison by himself. You
Hmm.
you want something done right, you got to do it by yourself. And a few things happen here. He breaks out Machine Head by accident. He kind of breaks down Machine Head's walls, the cell wall, so he can get out. He also does multi Paul. Mark and Eve come in because they are now the prison's guards. And Eve is so broken, man. She has the coolest powers. I say it every episode, but she's just like putting up stone prisons around these guys, and Multi-Paul doesn't really stand a chance against her. He escapes, his prime escapes, as we learn, but he himself, if he was to go against Eve, no chance. She's gonna whoop him.
My top note for the whole fight is Eve is so awesome. She was easily the MVP of this episode, not only in the fight, but like you kind of said at the beginning of the podcast, with her holding back Mark as well, just kind of letting Oliver do his own thing. She's just amazing, man. When she donned that full body suit, that like, you know, future ninja armor, that Genji looking armor, I was like, this is wife material, man. This is unbelievable. She is my favorite. She is definitely the MVP of this episode.
Dude, it looked so good when she just gives herself like an Iron Man suit. I was
Yeah.
like, hell yeah. I mean, her powers are literally limitless. We're gonna bring it up every episode, but it's just insane. She's so
It's
cool.
fun. It's funny too how when she was trying to capture multi-Paul, she's doing these small boxes. I literally at one point in my head was, why not just make everything a box? And then she did it, and I was like, yep, that's
Here you go.
that's that's better. Yep, you
You
gave me
just
what I
shrink
wanted.
it down. Yep.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, Mark is fighting Liu this whole time. He's doing like the Iron Fist punches where he's punching so
yeah.
fast you don't even see his arms
Super
move.
town hall.
Yeah, but he's not doing any damage. Like it's literally like a punching bag. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy. And he at one point he like thinks he's doing something, but then Liu turns around and just chomps through him. He's got another hole through his chest. Like, how are you breathing right now? It's insane. And he was a little bit of danger. Mark was like, Eve, gonna need some help here. So he felt the Grim Reaper approaching him there, which is you got to put that some respect on Liu's name there because his power,
Mhm.
like you said, comes from somewhere else. But I want to learn more about it. Like, is that going to be a threat in the future? Which we'll get to.
Yeah, for sure. This was a great fight scene. I'm watching it in my head. I'm thinking, okay, how many more times is Mark just going to get his ass kicked? But then I'm thinking, I'll let this one slide in particular because Mr. Liu's power does seem to be a huge threat. I think Omni-Man himself wouldn't be able to just one shot Mr. Liu either. I think he would probably take a little bit of damage as well. But Mark is just Mark's got to one of these days he's going to have a fight where he comes out no damage taken, boss. But today's not going to be that day.
Yeah, we got it's so funny because we got like a drop shot. He's falling down right onto the dragon's head, and we think that's it for a second. We think Mark and Eve took him out. And Eve has the line where it's like, or I'm sorry, Mark has the line where he's like, Eve, we got to charge more than what we're charging because he now has giant holes in his chest, like I've been saying this whole time. But
Yeah.
then Liu comes back, and we're like, oh my God, now we're screwed. Like, we're absolutely done.
That is
But at the
definitely
same
the
time,
epitome of his power too, is being able to take a kill shot like that straight on in his dragon form and still live. I thought that was crazy, but it does make sense that his weakness would be something so easy to deal with, I guess.
yeah, yeah. While all of this is going on and we see Mark getting the shit kicked out of him, we actually get a little bit of Machine Head making it all the way back to Titan's office. We also see Isotope pops back in. This is the triple cross we were talking about.
Mhm.
Isotope's powers are just insane. He just touches the Great Wall. All of a sudden, they're 800 feet above, ground level, and there he goes falling. Isotope pops back into the office, pulls a gun out of nowhere. It's just like, oh my god, so cool. And the whole plan was Machine Head is going to take out Liu's body while Liu is off fighting in dragon form.
Yeah, Machine Head and Isotope did not do enough research on the Great Wall, because that fall definitely did not kill him, as we know. But I love the first of many quotes that Machine Head has here. Is, I didn't write the exact one down, but he comes in and the Great Wall is kind of standing there. He's ready to throw hands. He's like, "Whoa, big guy! Like, I'm not gonna fight you. What are you, like 700 pounds?"
Yeah. He's
He's
like,
like,
you'd
"But your
murder me,
boss,
bro.
yeah, but your boss, I'll kill him." I thought that was hilarious. I agree, man. Isotope's power is so broken. I mean, that's the one I would want personally, is just teleportation, being able to teleport me and whoever, and just have that freedom.
Yeah.
It's great.
Insane. And like I said, apparently he could just teleport items as well because he
Yeah,
just pulled a gun out of thin air, which he didn't disappear and then come back with a gun. He just pulled it out of thin air, which
yeah,
is insane.
yeah. I don't know if he has
And
like to market or something like that, but crazy.
I, yeah, yeah, you know us. We want to know the details of the powers and their limits. But I
For
definitely
sure.
thought the Great Wall was dead. Well, I'll be honest. I was
Oh,
like,
I
oh,
thought so
okay, that was
too.
easy enough.
And I
Yeah.
thought Mr. Liu was dead. I mean, shit, both of them were
hmm
kaput in my head.
That line was so funny. Isotope just gave Machine Head the gun, and he's looking at Liu's body, and he's like, "Oh my god, it's so easy. It almost feels like cheating, but I like cheating." And then he just, shoots him right in the head. Um,
Yeah.
so I thought that was it for Liu. It wasn't. We'll
Mhm.
get right to that. Before that, we have like a few things. We get Titan popping back up, basically telling Mark the whole deal. Like, thanks for your help. We'll be out of your hair. Um, we got Mark and Eve kind of talking about a little bit of things like they're doing the classic sitting on the back roof talking about
Yeah.
their future. Maybe we shouldn't move in together. Maybe we should take a little bit slower because they were going to move in literally after like 2 dates.
Yeah.
I know we talked about this last episode. I know they've known each other for a while now. Still weird how fast they're moving. So kind of glad they're slowing it down.
Yeah,
But
definitely. No comments for me on that. Just agree.
so the end of the episode was where we got not only really cool scenes, but setting up for the future potentially.
Mhm.
Because we got everybody at the order and their table, they're having their conference meeting, and all of a sudden Machine Head rolls up. He starts spewing his classic, not like crude nonsense, but I don't want to cross him. He's the new leader,
Yeah.
and I don't think anybody else is going to want to cross him either. But we also got Titan leaving the order. That was a big
Mhm.
issue he had after stabbing Machine Head in the back. He was kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place. And now he can still be the leader of this portion of his city, but he's no longer part of the order. He's kind of separating that part of the city, which, when he was talking about, like, look how nice it is here. People can be safe. They don't have to worry about, all this crime. There's no murders. I'm like, Titan, are you good or bad, dude? Like,
Yeah, right.
make up your mind.
Yeah.
You're making
I
me like you, but like, you're a bad guy.
yes, that when he announced that he wanted to leave and he made his demands of I'm taking the city, just you can do whatever you want, just don't touch the city or whatever. And I was happy that Machine Hand gave him the out, but at the same time, I was like, is Machine Hand really going to let him walk? But I think the while it was a very funny line, I think it goes a long way. So the funny quote to me was, he's leaving and he's like, that guy, referring to Titan, is a lot smarter than you think. And
Mhm.
I think by him saying that makes me feel like Machine Head doesn't want to involve himself with Titan either because of how smart he is, and he doesn't want to have that looming threat. So I think Machine Head agreeing to Titan's demands of keeping the city and all that, I think Machine Head was keeping his word. Just from this silly little comment, I think it goes a long way though, and that I think they will kind of be out of each other's hairs for now. Something will, I'm sure, draw them back together at some point, but for the time being, this was a good out for Titan. And yeah, like you were saying, man, I don't know if he's good or bad, but I like him leaving
Mhm.
the order and keeping his eyes set on the city and making things happy. He is a good family man, so
If
it's tough.
if we're queuing up for a giant war between Viltrumites versus Earth, I
Mhm.
could see Titan being on
Yes,
Team Earth and fighting
as
alongside Mark.
yeah, 100%. I think even though they hate each other, like right now, there's like also a kind of broship that they have at this point. They fought together, they've bled together. That goes a long way. And so I think they do have a mutual respect for each other. While they don't agree with what they do or how they get things done, they're, I
Yeah,
think, still close.
totally agree. I at the end of the fight, Mark is like, Titan, I'm taking you to jail. And Titan's like, yeah, all right, sure. I'll see you around,
Right.
kid. And like goes
Yeah,
off. Like they respect each other, but
definitely.
they don't doesn't mean they like each other. Just to rattle off a few really good
Machine
machine
Head quotes. Yeah,
headlines.
hit me with them, please.
He returns to the head of the table of the order and he's all like, oh, you all missed me so much, you didn't do shit about it. And he starts screaming. Titan says he's out, and Machine Head replies like, good, we didn't want you in our super special secret club anyway. And
Mhm.
he's talking to the rest of the table saying, oh, didn't you guys miss me? This is gonna be so great. Like he's so good. But then he does all these sarcastic jokes, but then he looks at Titan and says, backstab me again, and I'm going to drown you in your kid's blood while I rip off your wife's skin and eat her heart. And I don't even eat meat. So that's saying a lot. I was like, Jesus Christ, this guy is the definition of like chaotic evil here.
Yeah, 1000%. There was I thought his use of the word fuck and fucking were very appropriate in times because he'd be so calm and then all of a sudden just with the switch of with the use of a word like fuck, he would just be immediately angry. What was the one where he's asking, does anyone have any problems or any questions? I'm not
Mhm.
that was that was rhetorical, slang mantis or whatever he says. Like that was
Yeah.
amazing.
He's so funny, but he's also scary at the same time. It
Yeah.
reminds me of the Joker from Batman. Like he had a lot of comedic lines, but at the same time, it's not like you want to
Mhm.
laugh at it because you might get killed from laughing at it.
He was a gem, man. After I he was one character that I would have been fine with just getting small bits of here and there, but after this single one performance, I'm all in for more Machine Head and some more of this humor going forward.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And I think the last two scenes we got here is we got a real quick one of Multi-Paul leaving a message of the clone paper cutouts
Yeah.
to Kate, saying, hey, I did escape. Eve didn't capture me. She captured one of my clones.
Mhm.
Uh, and then finally, which raises the biggest question of what's going to happen in the future, we get the Great Wall bringing Liu's body back to this ritual room, puts him on the table.
Mhm.
I'm going to call it the soul of a dragon. I don't know what it was, but something
Okay.
came out of the
Yeah.
Great Wall's mouth, went right into Liu's body, and Liu's eyes opened up. So he is not out of the game yet.
Yeah, my first thought when I saw this scene was Liu is very similar to Raj Al Ghul from Batman. Kind of reminded me of him with the kind of like, you can kill me, but I'll just come back. Also got me thinking that I think people have Liu's powers misunderstood. I think people think that Liu is the one that you need to kill when he's in dragon form, but I think it's actually got to be the Great Wall. I think if you kill the Great Wall and then kill Liu, I think that's the way to completely finish him off, is what I kind of took away from this.
I like that. I didn't think of that. So it's like, oh, this is the boss, but really the Great Wall is the big threat.
Yeah,
And Liu is
if Isotope did a better job and just threw him into a volcano rather than just off like a cliff or whatever, I don't know what the Great Wall is capable of surviving, but hypothetically, if a volcano were to kill him, then I don't think Liu's ever coming back. I just think that's it. So I think Liu is definitely the cornerstone, is my theory on Liu's power.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And not only does that set up a potential threat for Mark in the future, we were just talking about how we like Titan, and Titan seemingly walked away from the order without any issues. This is
Mhm.
going to be a big issue for him because I don't think Liu is going to be okay with
Forget.
this, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, he's gonna throw a fit, and that might put Machine Head's seat in trouble as well. Which I like Machine Head. I don't really care if he dies. I don't want
Right.
him to because I want snarky lines.
Yeah.
But with Titan, they humanized him. They showed him the family and the good he did for the city, and I'm like, now I don't really want Titan to die. He's a good guy.
Yeah. There was also in that moment where all the prisoners are escaping, you see Doc Seismic, and I'm like, no way this fucker's getting out again. Thankfully, you've put the doors on that, close the door on that real quick. But these
I think
mini
I missed
characters,
that.
man. Yeah, Doc Seismic. I'm pretty sure I saw Doc Seismic was in there. I think.
Makes sense. No, it makes total sense.
Yeah, I could be
That's
crazy,
wild.
but
No, I think you're
um,
right.
yeah, solid
But
episode, man. And talking it out only made me like the episode more, to be honest.
yeah, like I said, it might suffer because we just got all of that real big
Yeah.
Nolan storyline, which we love. But that
Mhm.
aside, it made me like side characters a lot more. So if this leads to a finale where we gather our allies, if we didn't have this episode, we wouldn't give a shit that Titan's there. Now we're like, all
Oh
right, let's
yeah.
go.
Now
That's
I'm
our guy.
invested. Hmm.
Yeah, totally.
All right. Anything else you want to bring up, Paul, before I wrap it up?
Real quick, I just like that Mark referenced Angstrom again. Angstrom Levy. He was talking to his mom saying that's why he wants to get the new place with Eve, just because he doesn't want a situation like the season 2 finale to happen again, which I respect. And what Mark ended up deciding was no, he's not going to get a place with Eve. As for right now, he's going to stay at home just to kind of keep an eye on his mom and Oliver.
Hmm. We said it before, but smart move. The relationship was moving too fast. Things just work out better this way, with Eve having school and Mark having to be there for Oliver during his big transformation time.
Yeah. And he got referenced, but there was no Cecil in this episode. And I noticed because I didn't realize I'd liked Cecil's character as much as I
Yeah.
did until he wasn't in an episode. And I was like, where's my guy?
See, I like
I don't
Cecil, man.
I don't know.
He's definitely, yeah. I don't the when I look, everyone has their own opinions on characters, and people hate on Cecil is what I'm seeing on Twitter. Not like everyone. There is a small amount of people that hate on Cecil. I'm just like, bro's out here doing his best. I don't know why you guys got to hate on him. I can understand not liking him, but the hate is just not warranted for sure.
I was like I said, I'm on Mark's side, but it doesn't mean that I don't respect Cecil.
Yeah,
Like he is out
Cecil
here putting his everything on the line.
Cecil is honestly a top 3 character in the show for me, just in terms of, just my favorites, just how they are as a character, who they are. I think he's in one of the biggest depth characters in the show.
Yeah, can't wait for more. And the backstory episode that they gave him only
Oh
made
yeah.
everybody like him more.
Yeah, exactly. Give us a Cecil spinoff, man. Just like what you did with Adam Eve. Just give us a one season of that. That's all we need.
Oh
But
yeah.
that's going to be it for today's episode coverage of Invincible. If you like what you heard, give Bingetown TV a follow on all of our socials: Instagram, X, YouTube, and TikTok. Be sure to join our Discord, which is linked in our episode description below. Chat with us about anything that you're watching with us or anything that you're currently watching and want us to know about. We're also going to ask for you to check out our newest Bingetown TV feeds called The Core, which is covering all the newest and hottest Apple TV shows. That is currently covering Severance. It's been banging so far. You guys definitely need to check that out. We also have Binge Empire, currently covering Dexter. We have the Unreal podcast that is currently discussing Traders. And then lastly, we have the Dark and Twisted feed, which is currently covering Yellow Jackets. So 4 feeds, check them all out. They're all covering amazing shows. You'll definitely want to hear our thoughts on those shows. And last thing here we have is if you want to check out a nice alphabetical list of all the shows we've ever covered, go to bingetowntv.com. It has our entire podcast catalog. It's going to be the most organized place for you to hear all of our episode coverages. Once again, we are the Final Form Podcast, and thank you so much for listening.
How good was Invincible carrying Titan in the sky? Wasn't that hysterical?
Oh, yeah, that was great. I forgot to mention that. Damn it. Yeah, that was a
No,
great
me
one.
too. We'll keep that in the end for anybody who made it all the way. So
Yeah, that was a great one. All right. Peace, everybody.